I'm out there at 4 a.m., pulling some kid from a mangled car wreck, when this HOA psycho decides that's the perfect time to break into my house and steal my stuff. Big mistake. What Brenda, the HOA president, didn't know was that my German Shepherd, Rex, was home, and Rex has zero patience for thieves. The security cameras caught everything. Her jimmying my back door with a crowbar, tiptoeing through my kitchen like she owned the place, and then she met Rex. What happened in the next few hours? Let's just say Brenda learned why you don't mess with a paramedic's house. By the end, one entitled HOA, Karen got served the justice she deserved. Trust me, the ending is beautiful. What would you do if they robbed you while you were saving lives? Drop your thoughts below. Let me tell you how I discovered I was living next to a sociopath in suburbia. I'm Jake Thornfield, 45, been running ambulances for 15 years. I bought this ranch house in Meadowbrook Estates after my divorce. A typical Phoenix suburb where every house looks like it rolled off an assembly line. I figured the HOA would be your standard bunch of retirees arguing about hedge heights. I was dead wrong. Meet Brenda Hutchkins, 52, bottle blonde, drives a white Lexus with blessed plates. This woman patrols our streets like she's hunting terrorists. Her morning compliance walks at exactly 8 a.m. became our neighborhood doomsday clock. The click-click-click of designer heels on concrete meant somebody was about to get destroyed. The smell of her perfume could gag a maggot. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst was how she smiled while screwing you over. After 3 break-ins hit our neighborhood last summer, I installed basic security cameras for units covering doors and driveway. Nothing crazy, just standard protection any reasonable person would want. 2 weeks later, certified mail, $150 fine for unauthorized exterior modification. I'm reading this thinking, seriously. The HOA covenant explicitly allows reasonable security measures, but apparently Queen Brenda decided my cameras violated neighborhood aesthetics. The community center meeting that night smelled like burnt coffee and fear. 20 residents in folding chairs, everyone looking like they'd rather be getting colonoscopies. Brenda presided from her card table throne, gavel ready to crush dreams. "Mr. Thornfield," she said when I stood to contest, never looking up. "Some people think rules don't apply to them. Your fine stands." Crack. Meeting adjourned. 15 seconds. No discussion, no due process, nothing. Walking to my truck afterward, I noticed something that made my stomach drop. Luis Rodriguez next door, Navy veteran, wheelchair-bound from service, had received a violation for his accessibility ramp being non-standard design. Sam Walker down the street, Marine Corps, wife died last year, got cited for improper flag display. Pete Morrison across from me, Air Force retiree, violation for his garden gnome being inappropriate. 4 houses for American flags for veterans getting systematically harassed. This wasn't about maintaining property values. This was ethnic cleansing, suburban style. That weekend, I adopted Rex from the police K-9 retirement program. 5-year-old German Shepherd. 85 pounds of pure professionalism. This dog had spent his career taking down criminals and protecting cops. His intelligent brown eyes missed nothing, and his calm confidence filled my empty house like medicine. The day Rex arrived, his collar tags jingling in the desert wind, I felt like I finally had backup. Brenda felt differently. Monday morning, violation notice taped to my door. Dangerous animal complaint. Immediate removal required. No investigation, no hearing, just Brenda's word as law. The complaint claimed Rex was aggressive and threatening to neighbors. Rex, meanwhile, was lying on my porch like a furry sphinx watching hummingbirds at the feeder. That's when I realized what I was dealing with. This woman wasn't just power-hungry. She was systematically targeting anyone who didn't fit her vision of the ideal neighborhood. Veterans, minorities, anyone who might stand up to her authority. Standing in my driveway, watching her white Lexus cruise by for the 3rd time that morning, I made a decision. Guys like me don't run from bullies. We document everything. We build cases, and we wait for them to make the mistake that destroys them. Rex sat beside me, ears up, tracking that Lexus like he was memorizing license plates. Military working dogs never really retire. They just change missions. Little did I know, Rex was about to get the most important assignment of his career. 3 days later, Brenda dropped the nuclear option. Certified letter number 2 hit my mailbox like a legal grenade. Emergency Board Resolution 2024 to 2007. Immediate camera removal required. 48 hours to comply or face $500 daily fines. Plus, they were threatening to place a lien on my property. Emergency. What damn emergency? My camera's protecting against the same break-ins that hit 3 other houses. I'm reading this garbage when something clicks. Back in my EMT training, they taught us about fraudulent medical authorizations, how scammers forge documents by skipping required procedures. This letter claimed an official board meeting passed this resolution, but I'd never received advance notice. In Arizona, HOA meetings require 72-hour notification to all homeowners. This smelled fishier than week-old salmon. Time for backup. I knocked on Dolores Martinez's door. Retired paralegal, 67, sharp enough to cut glass and twice as dangerous when somebody tries legal BS in her neighborhood. Her kitchen always smelled like fresh tortillas and righteous anger. "Mijo," she said, adjusting her reading glasses. "This woman thinks we're idiots." No board meeting happened because there is no board. 2 members quit 6 months ago after Brenda's harassment campaign. She's been making fake emergency resolutions with zero authority. While Dolores pulled out her legal research files, this woman kept records like the FBI. I decided to hit Brenda where it hurt. She kept throwing around her real estate expertise to justify property evaluations. Time to check if that license was even valid. The Arizona Department of Real Estate website made it easy. Punch in a name, get license status. Brenda Hutchkins, expired 6 months ago. She'd been operating illegally this whole time. But Brenda wasn't done escalating. Thursday afternoon, I dragged myself home after a brutal 24-hour shift. 3 overdoses, 2 cardiac arrests, and 1 car wreck where I'd spent 40 minutes cutting a kid out of twisted metal. My uniform reeked of diesel fuel and trauma, and my hands still had that metallic taste of adrenaline in my mouth. Instead of peace, I found Brenda in my driveway with some creep I'd never seen. "Mr. Thornfield," she announced without preamble, "this is Carl Brennan, our certified HOA inspector. We're conducting the required property assessment." Carl looked like he'd crawled from under a bridge, greasy hair, clothes that screamed, "I steal catalytic converters," and eyes that never made direct contact. This was Brenda's certified expert. They had cameras photographing every angle of my house, taking measurements. Then Carl did something that made my blood freeze. He started testing my door handles, actually trying to open my doors. Inside, Rex erupted, that bone-deep growl that means business. His claws scratching frantically at the front door like he was trying to dig through steel to get at these intruders. "Hey," I stepped between Carl and my entrance. "You have zero authority to test my locks." Brenda's smile could have frozen antifreeze. "Emergency resolutions grant full access for safety inspections." That's when I realized this wasn't about fines anymore. This was reconnaissance. I pulled out my phone, hit record. "For the record, I'm Jake Thornfield, and these individuals are attempting unauthorized access to my home." Carl backed off immediately, but too late. I had video evidence of them casing my house like common criminals. "We'll be back," Brenda promised, sliding into her Lexus with proper authorization. That night, reviewing my security footage, I discovered the real nightmare. Carl had returned at 2 a.m., alone, testing windows, checking my back gate, using a flashlight to peer through my garage. Rex had gone ballistic inside, but I'd been unconscious from exhaustion. This wasn't HOA harassment. This was burglary preparation. I called Dolores immediately. "Emergency. Brenda's inspector just cased my house in the middle of the night." "Inspector." Dolores laughed like broken glass. "Carl Brennan couldn't inspect a paper bag." I ran his background. Unlicensed handyman with priors for burglary and trespassing. He's her boyfriend, not her employee. The picture was getting clearer and uglier by the hour. Friday morning brought the final insult. Another violation for aggressive animal behavior because Rex had barked during their inspection. $500 more in fines. I was up to $1,000 in bogus penalties for protecting my own home from criminals. But here's what Brenda didn't understand about paramedics. We don't panic under pressure. We assess. We plan. We execute. 15 years of life and death decisions had taught me patience and precision. This suburban sociopath had just made the biggest mistake of her miserable life. She'd shown her true intentions, given me evidence of criminal behavior, and underestimated exactly who she was messing with. Time to show her what happens when you threaten a man's castle. The escalation hit like a sucker punch. Monday morning, still tasting the metallic exhaustion from another nightmare shift, my doorbell rings. 2 Phoenix PD officers on my porch looking like they'd rather be anywhere else. Mr. Thornfield, we need to discuss a complaint filed against you. What kind? Threatening behavior. Brenda Hutchkins claims you verbally threatened her yesterday during an altercation. I almost laughed. Officers, I spent yesterday pulling a 70-year-old woman from an overturned Honda on I-17. GPS timestamps on every ambulance run if you want proof. The younger cop's expression shifted as I showed him my work schedule. 24 straight hours at Phoenix General with location data that put me 30 miles away during Brenda's alleged confrontation. She's also requesting emergency property access. The older officer continued. Claims immediate safety violations require inspection to your house without you present. The brass balls on this woman. Officers want to see security footage of her boyfriend casing my property at 2 a.m. Their posture changed instantly. Cops hate being used as personal enforcers, and Brenda had just tried exactly that. After they left, without conducting any inspection, I remembered something from my Army Reserve days. Military legal assistance was still available for certain civilian issues. Time to call in the big guns. Captain Rodriguez at Luke Air Force Base JAG listened with the intensity of a surgeon examining x-rays. When I finished, silence stretched like a taut wire. Mr. Thornfield, harassment under color of law is federal territory. Using fake authority to violate property rights can mean serious prison time. She explained how I'd learned during EMT training that filing false police reports was a Class 6 felony in Arizona, something they'd covered when teaching us about mandatory reporting procedures. Brenda had just committed a serious crime. While I built the legal foundation, Dolores was constructing our offensive like a master strategist. Her research revealed Brenda's management contract was fraudulent, signed without board approval and loaded with kickbacks to preferred contractors. Guess who that contractor was? Carl. But Brenda was far from finished. Wednesday night, the desert air carried that crisp, clean scent that usually meant peace. Instead, Rex exploded into combat mode. Not his usual alert bark, but the full-throated roar that meant war. I grabbed my flashlight and checked the monitors. There was Carl at 3 a.m., methodically placing objects around my mailbox. After he skulked away, I investigated. Dead plants scattered across my driveway, wilted flowers dumped around my mailbox, fresh garbage strategically positioned on my lawn. The stench of rotting vegetation mixed with night-blooming jasmine created this surreal cocktail of suburban warfare. Carl was staging violations to photograph later. Thursday morning delivered the payoff. New violation notices with time-stamped photos, landscaping failure, improper waste disposal, failure to maintain curb appeal, each carrying $200 fines for violations they literally manufactured. I was up to $1,600 in fabricated penalties. That's when inspiration struck. If Brenda wanted to play property management games, I'd hire actual professionals. Desert Guardian Property Management specialized in homes of deployed military families. People who understood the value of legitimate documentation. Maria Santos arrived that afternoon, took one look at the violation photos, and started chuckling like she'd heard the world's best joke. 12 years in this business, Mr. Thornfield. Those plants were positioned for maximum camera visibility. You can see the nursery soil hasn't blended with your desert dirt. This garbage placement, textbook evidence staging. Maria agreed to provide expert witness documentation and formally deny any emergency access that didn't follow proper legal channels. More importantly, She understood military protocol and wouldn't be intimidated by suburban bullies. The irony was delicious. Every fake violation Brenda created was actually building the evidence that would destroy her. She thought she was systematically crushing me, but what she was really doing was constructing her own legal coffin. Rex seemed to sense the momentum shift. When Brenda's white Lexus made its daily harassment drive, 6 times minimum, he'd simply position himself at the front window. No more agitated barking, just patient observation, like a sniper waiting for the perfect shot. Because predators always make the same mistake. They get greedy. They push too hard, move too fast, and expose themselves completely. Brenda was about to learn that lesson in the most painful way possible. Week 3 brought Brenda's most vicious attack yet. It wasn't aimed at me. I'm barely through my front door after a brutal shift when Luis wheels over, his face pale as desert sand. "Jake, that woman just tried to have Rex seized." "What?" "Animal control showed up an hour ago." Brenda filed a complaint claiming Rex attacked her during an official HOA inspection. My blood turns to ice water. Rex is more than my dog. He's my partner, my therapy for the nightmares, the only family I have left after the divorce. If they took him, I sprint to the animal control truck still parked outside. Officer Rodriguez notices the veteran plates immediately, looks frustrated as hell while Brenda performs her Oscar-worthy victim routine. "That vicious beast lunged at me," she wails, fake tears streaming down her cheeks. "I was just conducting legitimate HOA business." "Officer," I interrupt. "My dog hasn't left my property. I have security footage." 5 minutes later, we're watching crystal-clear video of Brenda approaching my fence, while Rex observes calmly from inside my yard. Zero aggressive behavior. What the footage does show is Brenda making kissing sounds and hand gestures, clearly trying to provoke a reaction. Rodriguez shakes his head in disgust. "Ma'am, this is a trained police canine, isn't it?" He asks me. 5 years with Phoenix PD, full-service dog certification. His expression turns granite hard. "Ma'am, filing false complaints against a veteran service dog violates federal law. You need to leave now." But Brenda's desperation was just getting started. That afternoon, Luis calls me over, his voice shaking with anger. "You won't believe what just happened. That would offer me $500 cash to temporarily relocate Rex while you're at work." I stare at him like he's speaking Martian. "She tried to bribe you." It's worse. When I refused, she threatened my disability benefits. Said the VA might question whether I'm really disabled if I can take care of a dog. The smell of creosote and rage creates this toxic mixture that makes me want to vomit. Threatening a disabled veteran's benefits. This woman had crossed into federal crime territory. Smart man that he is, Luis had recorded everything. Brenda's voice clear as a bell, offering cash bribes and making VA threats. Evidence that would destroy her in federal court. While I'm processing this nuclear escalation, Dolores calls with intelligence that makes the puzzle pieces click into place. "Mijo, I found out why Brenda's so desperate. Public records show she owes $180,000 in back taxes. IRS filed seizure notices last month." Suddenly, everything made sense. The emergency access demands, the boyfriend casing houses. This wasn't about HOA violations. This was about a woman facing financial ruin, targeting military families whose valuable homes sat unprotected during deployments. But Thursday brought the attack that shattered my composure completely. I'm walking to my truck after a shift that included a pediatric cardiac arrest, a 7-year-old who didn't make it, when my phone rings. My ex-wife, Sarah, and she's furious. "Jake, what the hell have you done?" Some psycho woman called family services claiming you're dangerous and unstable. The words hit me like a physical blow. "What?" She told them you have PTSD, that you're living with a dangerous attack animal, and that Maya isn't safe visiting you. "Jake, they're opening a formal investigation into your custody arrangement." My legs nearly give out. Maya, my 15-year-old daughter who visits every other weekend, who loves Rex like family, who represents everything pure and good left in my shattered world after the divorce. The taste of copper floods my mouth, raw adrenaline mixed with murderous rage. Brenda had just declared war on my child. Sarah, I need you to document everything. Every call, every contact. This woman is trying to destroy me, and now she's using Maya as a weapon. After I hang up, I sit in my truck for 10 minutes, hands shaking with fury. The desert sunset paints everything blood red, and all I can think about is how Brenda Hutchkins just made the biggest mistake of her miserable life. You can mess with my property. You can harass my neighbors. You can even threaten my dog, but you do not threaten my daughter. That night, I made calls that would change everything. JAG Legal Assistance, Phoenix PD Financial Crimes, FBI Public Corruption Task Force. Rex sat beside me as I planned our counteroffensive. His calm presence the only thing keeping me from driving to Brenda's house and settling this the old-fashioned way. His amber eyes reflected the porch light like warning beacons. War had been declared, and this time I was bringing federal artillery. Friday morning brought the discovery that changed everything. Dolores calls me at 6 a.m., her voice crackling with excitement. Mijo, get over here. I found something that's going to blow your mind. I stumble over in my pajamas, coffee mug in hand, expecting another piece of Brenda's financial puzzle. Instead, Dolores has her dining room, table covered with documents like a detective's war room. HOA contracts, public records, property liens, and something that makes my blood run cold. Look at this, she says, sliding a thick folder across the table. Brenda's not just broke. She's been running this scam for years. The documents tell a story that's both brilliant and horrifying. Property management contracts from 3 previous neighborhoods, all showing the same pattern. Brenda moves into an area, gets elected to the HOA board, then systematically targets homeowners for harassment until they sell their houses below market value. Here's the genius part. Dolores continues, her paralegal instincts in overdrive. Her boyfriend Carl gets hired as the preferred contractor to fix all these emergency violations. But look at these invoices. $3,000 to trim a tree, $5,000 to repair a mailbox, $8,000 for basic landscaping. I'm staring at receipts that would make a mob accountant blush. Jesus, how is this legal? It's not. That's mail fraud, contractor fraud, and conspiracy. But wait, there's more. She pulls out another file that makes my hands shake. Insurance claims. Brenda's been filing bogus insurance claims against problem homeowners, claiming their properties created liability issues that damaged neighboring houses. When the insurance companies investigate, they find all these convenient HOA violation reports backing up her claims. She's been collecting settlements for fake damages while simultaneously driving people out of their homes. 3 neighborhoods, Jake. 47 families forced to sell. Total estimated profit over $2 million. The scope is staggering. This isn't some petty HOA tyrant. This is organized crime in suburban disguise. But the real bombshell comes when Dolores slides me a copy of our HOA's original covenant documents. The real ones from when the development was built, not the modified versions Brenda's been using. Remember that emergency access clause she keeps citing? It doesn't exist in the original covenant. She added it during a fake board meeting last year when she was the only member present. Completely illegal modification. I'm reading through the actual covenant language, and it's like discovering someone's been playing poker with mark cards for months. Every emergency resolution, every safety inspection, every threat about liens and fines, all based on fake authority she gave herself. There's more, Dolores says grimly. That property management contract she signed with Carl includes a clause giving her 10% of all emergency repairs conducted on HOA properties. She's been planning to rob every house in this neighborhood blind. The final piece falls into place when she shows me Carl's arrest record from his previous state. 2 convictions for burglary, 1 for home invasion, and a pattern of targeting military families during deployments. They've done this before, Jake. Military deployments create perfect opportunities. Empty houses, absent owners, neighbors who assume any official activity is legitimate. My coffee has gone cold in my hands as the enormity hits me. This wasn't random harassment. This was a carefully planned criminal operation that targeted veterans, specifically because our service made us vulnerable. The question is, Dolores says, what do we do with all this? I look at the evidence spread across her table. Enough documentation to put both Brenda and Carl away for years, to expose a multi-million-dollar scam, to protect dozens of other military families from becoming victims. We don't just stop them, I say quietly. We destroy them so completely that they never hurt another veteran family again. Rex appears at my side like he's been summoned, his calm presence reminding me that the best operations require patience and precision. Time to plan the perfect takedown. Saturday morning, my kitchen becomes mission control. The team assembles like something out of military operation. Dolores arrives with 3 banker boxes of evidence, her paralegal instincts having compiled everything into prosecutable cases. Luis wheels in with his laptop, ready to coordinate neighborhood intel. Pete Morrison, the Air Force retiree I'd barely talked to before, shows up with a background I never suspected. 20 years in Air Force investigations, Pete explains, spreading his own files across my counter. Specialized in contractor fraud and organized crime. When Dolores told me what you'd found, I made some calls to my old contacts. The smell of fresh coffee mingles with the desert morning air as we build our battle plan. Rex positions himself by the front window, our 4-legged early warning system tracking every vehicle that passes. First thing, Pete continues, this operation is way bigger than Phoenix. I contacted FBI agent Sarah Zaffer in the white-collar crimes division. She's been tracking similar HOA scams across 6 states. Your case could be the key to breaking open a nationwide network. My hand shakes slightly as I pour coffee. Nationwide network. I thought we were dealing with one psychotic neighbor, not organized crime. Dolores spreads out her legal strategy like a general planning an invasion. We need multiple prosecution tracks, state-level contractor fraud, mail fraud, extortion, federal-level civil rights violations against veterans, wire fraud, racketeering, and civil court damages for every family they've targeted. The legal knowledge I'd picked up during my EMT training kicks in. During our certification courses, they'd taught us about fraud documentation because we sometimes encountered insurance scams in emergency situations. The key was creating an unbreakable chain of evidence with multiple witnesses and corroborating documentation. Here's our timeline. Pete says, consulting his notes. Agent Zaffer wants to coordinate with Phoenix PD Detective Morrison, no relation, who's been investigating Carl's activities. They suspect he's been using HOA access to case houses for future burglaries, not just immediate theft. Luis contributes intelligence that makes my blood run cold. I've been talking to neighbors in their previous developments. Same pattern every time. Target military families, create violations, force sales, move on. But Jake, some of those families, they lost everything. Savings, retirement, kids' college funds. The weight of responsibility settles on my shoulders like a lead blanket. This isn't just about my house anymore. It's about preventing dozens of other veterans from losing their homes to these predators. Maria Santos from Desert Guardian Property Management arrives with professional documentation that would make a prosecutor weep with joy. Time-stamped photos, expert analysis of the stage violations, and testimony that Carl's emergency repairs violated every building code in Arizona. I've managed properties for deployed soldiers for 12 years, Maria explains. What they've done here is textbook predatory targeting. We can prove intent, method, and financial motivation. Our tactical preparation becomes military precise. I upgrade my security system with motion-activated cameras that feed directly to cloud storage. No more relying on local recording that could be sabotaged. Luis installs backup systems at his house. Pete coordinates with his police contacts for increased patrols. The financial documentation Dolores has assembled reads like a criminal enterprise flowchart. Bank records showing cash payments to Carl's company, insurance payouts for fake damages, property sales below market value to mysterious buyers who turn out to be shell companies connected to Brenda's family members. The IRS seizure notice creates a 30-day window. She's desperate enough to make mistakes, Dolores explains, but smart enough to run if she suspects we're onto her. We need to move fast. Agent Zephyr's federal task force provides resources I never expected. Wiretaps on Brenda's phone, financial surveillance on her accounts, coordination with multiple state attorney generals' offices investigating similar scams. Your security footage of Carl casing your house at 2 a.m. Pete grins. That's evidence of criminal conspiracy. Combined with the stage violations in Luis's bribery recording, we've got a RICO case that could put them away for decades. The community mobilization aspect amazes me. Sam Walker's wife creates a secure Facebook group for affected families. Other veterans start sharing their own harassment stories. The pattern becomes undeniable. Systematic targeting of military families, always during deployments or training exercises. As Sunday evening approaches, our plan crystallizes into something beautiful and terrifying. Multiple law enforcement agencies coordinated. Media contacts ready to expose the story. Legal representation for every affected family. And most importantly, a trap designed to catch Brenda and Carl in the act of attempted burglary. The beauty of this, Pete says, reviewing our timeline, is that Brenda's desperation will force her to make the mistake that destroys her. She needs money fast. She thinks her house is unprotected, and she has no idea we're ready for her. Rex stretches and yawns, completely calm despite the military-level planning happening around him. Smart Dog knows that good operations require patience. 1 week, I announced to my assembled team. In 7 days, Brenda Hutchkins learns what happens when you mess with America's veterans. Monday morning brought Brenda's most desperate gambit yet, and the stupidest. I'm checking my security feeds before my shift when I spot something that makes my coffee taste like battery acid. Brenda's white Lexus parked across from Luis's house, and she's talking to a man in a suit I don't recognize. 20 minutes later, Luis calls me, his voice shaking with rage. Jake, you're not going to believe this. That psycho just tried to bribe a county inspector. What inspector? Code enforcement. She told him I was running an illegal daycare out of my house, which is insane since I'm in a wheelchair and live alone, and offered him $1,000 cash to expedite the investigation and have me evicted. The brass balls on this woman. Please tell me he didn't take it. Are you kidding? Inspector Martinez has been doing this job for 20 years. He recorded the whole conversation and called his supervisor immediately. Brenda's looking at federal bribery charges now, but she wasn't done digging her own grave. Tuesday afternoon, I come home from a shift that included 2 overdoses and a motorcycle wreck to find my neighbor Sam's wife crying on her front porch. Her husband's been dead 8 months, and she's been struggling to maintain their house alone. She's trying to foreclose on me, Karen Walker sobs. Says I owe $4,000 in accumulated fines for violations I never received notice about. The bank's threatening to start proceedings. I examined the violation notices Brenda had apparently been sending, dated over 6 months ago, but the postal stamps show they were all mailed last week. Classic mail fraud, backdating violations to create artificial debt. Karen, those postmarks prove she's lying. We're going to fix this. While I'm comforting a widow being terrorized by suburban gangsters, Pete calls with intelligence that makes my hands clench into fists. Jake, my police contacts just briefed me. Brenda filed a restraining order against you. Claims you've been stalking her, threatening her safety, and using your military training to intimidate her. The hypocrisy is so breathtaking, I actually laugh. Let me guess. She wants me banned from HOA meetings and common areas. Gets worse. She's claiming your PTSD makes you dangerous, and that Rex is an unregistered weapon being used for intimidation. That night, Dolores discovers the nuclear option in Brenda's playbook. She's been contacting my employer, Phoenix General Hospital, claiming I'm mentally unstable and should be investigated for patient safety violations. She told them you've been displaying erratic behavior, that you're using drugs to cope with PTSD, and that your dog is a threat to hospital security. Dolores explains, her voice tight with fury. Jake, she's trying to get you fired. The taste of metal fills my mouth, pure adrenaline mixed with murderous intent. My job isn't just my livelihood. It's my identity. 15 years of saving lives, and this suburban terrorist wants to destroy my career over HOA violations I never committed. But Wednesday brings the escalation that pushes me past my breaking point. I'm grabbing lunch between calls when my phone rings. Maya, my 15-year-old daughter, and she's crying. Dad, this scary woman came to my school. She told the counselor I might not be safe visiting you anymore. My world tilts on its axis. What woman? She said her name was Mrs. Hutchkins and that she was investigating concerning reports about your mental health. Dad, I am scared. Are they going to stop me from seeing you? The phone nearly slips from my trembling hands. Brenda had just crossed the line from harassment into terrorizing my child. She'd actually gone to Maya's school, 500 miles away in Colorado, to poison my relationship with my daughter. Sweetheart, that woman is lying. She's trying to hurt our family because she's angry about something that has nothing to do with you. I promise you, nobody is going to stop you from visiting me. After I hang up, I sit in my ambulance for 10 minutes, shaking with rage, so pure it feels like electricity in my veins. The desert heat presses through the windows, but I'm cold with the kind of fury that makes men do terrible things. Brenda Hutchkins had just declared war on my child. That evening, our war council convenes with new urgency. Pete's FBI contacts are ready to move, but they need Brenda to commit one more crime to trigger the federal arrest warrants. She's spiraling. Agent Zeph explains via secure video call. Financial pressure, legal exposure, and desperation are making her reckless. We just need her to take one more illegal action. I look at my assembled team. Dolores with her legal artillery, Luis with his recording equipment, Pete with his federal connections, Maria with her professional documentation. Then let's give her exactly what she wants. I say quietly. An empty house, a missing owner, and the chance to make the mistake that destroys her forever. Rex lifts his head, those intelligent brown eyes reflecting the kitchen light like targeting lasers. Game time. Thursday night. We set the trap that would end Brenda Hutchkins forever. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. I'd announced on social media that I was leaving for a 3-day emergency training in Tucson, far enough away to make my house appear vulnerable, close enough for me to return quickly when needed. Rex would stay with Luis. My security system would be malfunctioning, and my house would look like the perfect target for a desperate woman facing financial ruin. What Brenda didn't know was that my house had become Fort Knox with invisible defenses. Pete's FBI contacts had installed federal-grade surveillance equipment throughout my property. Motion sensors that could detect a mouse, audio recording that could pick up whispered conversation from 50 yards, infrared cameras that turn night into day. Every angle covered, every sound captured, all feeding to a command center in Luis's garage. Friday morning, I post on Facebook, heading to Tucson for emergency paramedic training. 3 days of intensive coursework. Rex is staying with my neighbor, since I'll be too busy to care for him properly. Within an hour, Brenda drives by my house 4 times. The bait is taken. Luis, monitoring from his command center, reports constant surveillance. She's been parked at the corner for 20 minutes, just watching. Carl showed up twice, driving different vehicles each time. The smell of desert sage drifts through Luis's open garage door as we watch Brenda's pattern develop. She's casing my house like a professional burglar, noting the darkened windows, the lack of my truck in the driveway, the absence of Rex's usual presence at the front window. Saturday brings the escalation we've been waiting for. Agent Zeph calls with intelligence that makes my pulse quicken. Phone taps caught Brenda and Carl planning something for tonight. She's desperate. IRS seizure is scheduled for Monday morning. It's now or never for her. The recorded conversation is damning. Brenda discussing valuable medical equipment in my house. Carl confirming he knows how to bypass my basic security system. Both of them planning to finally solve their financial problems. They're not just planning burglary. Agent Zeph continues. They're discussing arson afterward to cover their tracks and collect insurance money. This is attempted murder we're looking at. My hands shake as the implications hit me. If I'd actually been out of town, if Rex had actually been staying elsewhere, Brenda and Carl would have robbed my house and then burned it down, potentially with neighbors sleeping nearby. Saturday evening, The desert air carries that crisp scent that usually means peace. Instead, it feels like the calm before a hurricane. I'm positioned in Luis's house with a perfect view of my property. Federal agents are stationed throughout the neighborhood, and Rex is inside my house. The perfect guard who they don't know is waiting. The irony is beautiful. Brenda thinks she's about to rob an empty house protected only by basic security cameras. What she's actually walking into is a federal task force operation with her face already on arrest warrants. At 11:47 p.m. Movement. Carl's rusty pickup truck parks 3 blocks away, and he approaches on foot through the desert scrub behind my house. The infrared cameras track his every step as he cuts through my back fence and creeps toward the rear door. Brenda arrives separately, parking her Lexus in the community center lot and walking through shadows like she's done this before. The coordination suggests this isn't their first joint operation. Inside Luis's garage, Agent Zephyr's voice crackles through the radio. All units, suspects are on site. Let them commit the crime before moving in. Carl reaches my back door first, producing professional lockpicking tools that confirm this is no amateur operation. The audio picks up his whispered instructions to Brenda. Cameras are disabled, dogs gone, owners in Tucson. Easy money. The moment Carl's tools touch my lock, Rex erupts from inside the house. Not barking, roaring. The sound of 85 pounds of trained police dog hitting the door from inside makes Carl stumble backward like he's been shot. What the hell? Brenda's voice carries clearly on the surveillance audio. You said the dog was gone. It is. That neighbor's supposed to have it. But Rex isn't finished. His training kicks in as he positions himself at the door. That bone-deep growl that means business. Every time Carl tries to approach the lock again, Rex's warnings escalate. Then comes the moment that changes everything. Frustrated and desperate, Carl pulls out a crowbar and starts attacking my door frame. The federal crime of breaking and entering becomes assault with a deadly weapon when Rex is inside. That's it. Agent Zephyr's voice cuts through the radio. All units move in now. The desert night explodes with floodlights and federal agents. FBI, hands up, get on the ground. Brenda tries to run. Carl drops his crowbar and surrenders immediately, but there's nowhere to go. The entire neighborhood is surrounded. From inside my house, Rex's triumphant barking sounds like victory bells ringing across Meadowbrook Estates. Sunday morning brought justice, served with handcuffs and news cameras. By 6 a.m., Meadowbrook Estates looked like a federal crime scene. FBI vehicles lined the streets. News vans from 3 local stations had materialized like vultures, and neighbors emerged from their houses in bathrobes to witness the spectacular downfall of their neighborhood tyrant. Channel 12's morning reporter Michelle Santos thrust a microphone in my face as I walked Rex around the perimeter of my now famous property. Mr. Thornfield, can you tell us how it feels to have caught these alleged criminals in the act? It feels like justice, I said simply, Rex sitting calmly beside me like the professional he'd always been. These people terrorized military families for years. Today that ends. But the real show was about to begin at the emergency HOA meeting called for 10 a.m. The Meadowbrook Community Center had never seen anything like it. Over 200 residents packed into a space designed for 100, with overflow crowds spilling onto the sidewalk. News crews positioned themselves strategically, their cameras focused on the folding table where Brenda should have been presiding. Instead, she was in federal custody, facing charges that could put her away for 30 years. Dolores had called the meeting using emergency provisions that required only 48-hour notice. As the senior remaining board member, a title she'd assumed after discovering the previous board had been illegally dissolved, she wielded the gavel with the authority of someone who'd been waiting decades for this moment. Ladies and gentlemen, Dolores announced, her voice carrying clearly through the packed room. We're here to address the criminal conspiracy that has been operating under the guise of HOA governance for the past 18 months. The smell of coffee and righteous anger filled the air as she began presenting evidence. Bank records showing $2.3 million in fraudulent contractor payments, insurance settlements for fake damages, property sales forced through harassment and illegal violations. Brenda Hutchkins and her accomplice Carl Brennan have been arrested by the FBI for conspiracy, mail fraud, civil rights violations, and attempted burglary. Dolores continued, "But today, we're here to clean house and make sure this never happens again." Agent Sarah Zephyr stepped forward, her federal credentials commanding immediate attention. The investigation has revealed a pattern of targeting military families across 6 states. 47 families lost their homes to this criminal enterprise. Today, we begin the process of making them whole. Luis wheeled forward to testify about the bribery attempt. His recorded conversation with Brenda played through speakers that made everyone wince. The sound of her voice offering cash while threatening his disability benefits created an audible gasp from the crowd. Pete Morrison, revealed now as a former Air Force investigator, presented the contractor fraud evidence that showed Carl's emergency repairs were systematically overcharging homeowners by 300 to 500% while performing substandard work. But the moment that brought the house down came when Karen Walker took the microphone. "My husband died serving this country 8 months ago," she said, her voice shaking but determined. "While I was grieving, this woman tried to steal my home with fake violations and backdated fines. She preyed on military widows because she thought we were easy targets." The crowd's anger was palpable, a low rumble of outrage that made the building itself seem to vibrate with fury. Channel 12's cameras captured everything as Maria Santos from Desert Guardian Property Management presented her expert analysis. The evidence shows systematic fraud designed to target deployed military personnel when they were most vulnerable. This wasn't random crime. This was predatory warfare against American service members. Detective Morrison from Phoenix PD announced additional charges. Mr. Brennan's arrest revealed evidence linking him to unsolved burglaries in 3 other military housing areas. We expect additional charges as the investigation continues. The unanimous vote to remove the existing HOA board and elect new leadership took less than 5 minutes. The vote to pursue civil lawsuits against Brenda and Carl for damages was equally swift. But my moment came when Channel 12's reporter asked the question that had been building all morning. "Mr. Thornfield, what would you say to other military families facing HOA harassment?" I looked directly into the camera, Rex sitting proudly beside me, and delivered the line I'd been planning for weeks. Document everything. Know your rights. Build alliances with your neighbors. And remember, criminals always think they're smarter than they are, until they try to break into a house with a retired police dog inside. The crowd erupted in applause that shook the community center's rafters. Outside, neighbors who couldn't fit inside cheered loud enough to wake the dead. As the meeting dissolved into celebration, Pete grabbed my shoulder. "You know this is going national, right? Veterans advocacy groups are already calling. You're about to become the poster boy for fighting HOA corruption." I looked around at my neighbors. Luis grinning like he'd won the lottery. Dolores accepting congratulations like the legal hero she'd become. Maria coordinating with reporters who wanted the full story. "Good," I said quietly. "Maybe other veterans won't have to go through what we did." Rex barked once, sharp and clear, like he was agreeing. Justice served. Case closed. 6 months later, I'm grilling burgers in my backyard, watching Rex play with a dozen neighborhood kids, and thinking about how one woman's evil accidentally created something beautiful. Brenda got 4 years in federal prison plus $2. $8 million in restitution. Carl received 18 months and a lifetime HOA ban. But their real punishment, watching from their cells as the community they tried to destroy became stronger than ever. The transformation started immediately. Luis got elected HOA president in a landslide, with Pete as security coordinator and Dolores as legal advisor. Our first act, the Military Family Protection Covenant that prohibits harassment of deployed personnel, eliminates surprise violations, and requires live streaming of all board meetings. My Sunday barbecues became legendary. The smell of mesquite smoke draws families from across the development. People who've been isolated by Brenda's reign of terror finally connecting as neighbors. Kids who'd never spoken now trade Pokemon cards while their parents share beers and deployment stories. Rex found his true calling as our neighborhood's unofficial therapy dog. After school, children visit to read him stories. Veterans stop by when the nightmares get heavy. Karen Walker, the widow Brenda tried to destroy, brings him homemade treats every Tuesday. The VA expanded his certification for trauma support, and now he helps other veterans transition back to civilian life. The ripple effects amazed everyone. Our story went viral, spawning hashtag Veterans vs. HOA on social media and helping hundreds of military families fight HOA corruption. Rex's law legislation protecting service members from housing harassment passed Arizona unanimously, with 3 other states following suit. My relationship with Maya healed completely. She visits monthly now instead of court-mandated weekends, declaring Rex her co-pilot for life. Watching her play with neighbor kids while Rex supervises like a furry camp counselor fills holes in my heart I forgot existed. The financial recovery exceeded our wildest dreams. Federal asset seizure plus insurance settlements provided full restitution to every victim. Karen not only kept her house, but paid off her mortgage entirely. That which wanted to steal my home, she told Channel 12. Instead, she accidentally gave it to me free and clear. Rex's Fund, our scholarship program for military children, raised $127,000 in year 1. Luis's granddaughter received the inaugural award to study veterinary medicine. The girl whose grandfather was targeted for his disability will now dedicate her life to healing animals. Beautiful irony. My construction business evolved into security consulting for military housing. The positive publicity brought contracts with 3 developments seeking to prevent future Brendas. I speak at veteran conferences now, teaching families how to document harassment and fight back legally. Netflix bought our documentary rights, with proceeds funding legal assistance for discriminated veterans. Guard Dog, a Phoenix neighborhood's fight for justice, premieres next month, starring Rex as the 4-legged hero who saved America's heroes. But last week brought the ultimate victory. Agent Zephyr called with news that made my hands shake. Jake, we arrested the final network member in Florida. Your case broke open their entire operation. 47 military families are getting their homes back. Standing in my backyard yesterday evening, desert sunset painting everything gold, I addressed my assembled neighbors during our weekly community gathering. A year ago, one person's hatred broke this neighborhood. Today, we're family because we chose to fight back together. Rex barked approval, tail wagging like a victory flag, surrounded by children who see him as their protector and friend. The best revenge isn't getting even. It's building something so beautiful that evil can't touch it. Today, Meadowbrook Estates represents everything Brenda hated. Veterans supporting each other, neighbors becoming family, and community triumphing over corruption. She wanted to destroy us, but accidentally taught us how strong we could be together. Rex stretches in the evening sun, completely content in his role as neighborhood guardian and children's champion. Sometimes the best victories come with 4 legs and unconditional love. Your turn to fight back. Drop your HOA nightmare stories in the comments. Let's build an army of neighbors helping neighbors stand up to suburban bullies. Hit subscribe on HOA Stories for more tales of everyday heroes defeating corruption. And ring that notification bell so you never miss justice being served. Because when good people stand together, even the worst Karens can't break what we build. Document everything. Know your rights. Trust your neighbors. And never underestimate the power of a good dog. That's all for today's HOA Madness. If watching justice serve itself made your day, smash that like button, share your thoughts down below, and make sure you're subscribed. More outrageous neighborhood showdowns are just around the corner.